The 1920s ushered in a decade of exciting social changes and profound cultural conflicts. It was the decade of prosperity, jazz bands, bootleggers and bathtub gin, flappers and flagpole sitters, and marathon dancers. It was on March 11, 1920, in Hamburg, New York, that the story of Arthur Charles Kurz began. Art was born in this house at 210 Long Avenue to Charles and Mary Kurz and older brother Carlton. Art spent his days as any typical boy of the time, rabble-rousing as boys do, like in the days of the Little Rascals, riding ponies and playing with dogs. Art's alfalfa to his Spanky was a boy named Al Schwartz, a lasting friendship that not only impacted the adventures of his childhood, but also led Art to discovering his greatest love in life. Art graduated from Hamburg High School in 1938 and went on to college at Alfred University in Alfred, New York, earning a degree in engineering in 1940. He joined IBM on June 24, 1940 at Rochester, where he was enrolled in the Electric Writing Machine School. Art would spend 42 years in steadfast service to IBM. On November 15, 1941, Art took the most instrumental turn of his life. His best friend, Al Schwartz, was getting married, and Art naturally stood alongside as best man. Standing with the bride at the wedding was a beautiful and petite woman named Marguerite Buck. Somewhere between the wedding march and the bouquet toss, Art decided he too was ready to suspend his bachelor status and marry this girl. And so began one of the greatest love stories ever lived, and Art would never be the same. Just a few weeks after their meeting, America would suffer a national tragedy under the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Like so many young men of the day, Art was compelled to join in the fight. He enlisted in the Army in January of 1942 at Fort Niagara. Before leaving for his training at Fort Lee, Virginia, Art asked Marguerite just one important question: "Will you marry me?" Of course, she said yes. The date was February 14, 1942, Valentine's Day.
All aboard! All aboard!
Marguerite traveled to visit Art at Fort Lee before he began his journey westward to his post. It was the last time the couple would see each other for 3 years. Art served as a member of the Signal Corps in the Aleutian Islands campaign. He was part of the May 1943 effort to recapture Attu and the resecuring of Kiska after the Japanese retreat in August. Faithfully, Art sent love letters, birthday cards, holiday greetings, and many flowers back home to woo his waiting bride. Art was reassigned to Hawaii in late 1944. He wrote Marguerite that despite the much-vaunted climate of Hawaii, he was actually homesick for the fog-bound peaks of the Aleutians. Ever a boy from the North Country, rugged and tough-minded against blustering cold, he was warmed only by the thoughts of rejoining his true love. Finally, Art's day had arrived. He traveled back to New York on a 45-day leave, and on May 12, 1945, he joined his life to hers forever in her hometown of Java Village, New York. The couple shared their lives for 62 years. Honorably discharged from the Army, Art resumed his work with IBM, and the couple settled into married life. On January 24, 1946, in Rochester, New York, Art and Marguerite welcomed their son, James Arthur, into the world. Daughter Marian Eva was born on January 27, 1948, in Lakewood, Ohio. As the children grew, Art would take them on adventures, like sledding on the hills of the golf course across the street in Poughkeepsie. Art even taught Jim and Marion how to ice skate on the water hazards. The days turned into weeks, weeks into months, months into years. Art was transferred to new job assignments. A common joke of the day was, IBM stands for, I've been moved. Throughout their transitions, Art would take his family on vacations to New York City, Lake Chautauqua, and Washington, D.C., among other places. But the best trips were always the ones back north to visit family in the Thousand Islands. It was important to Art that his wife and children spent time with their family. And they had some of the best times, swimming, talking, and of course, lots of laughter. Family is everything in this world to Art. After a few more assignments in new cities with IBM, Art and Marguerite made their last move with the company to Lexington, Kentucky. In 1962, they built their house on Williamsburg Road, where Art still resides today. As the years have marched on, Art has enthusiastically enjoyed watching his family grow larger. Welcoming son-in-law Kit in 1969, grandson Brad in 1971, granddaughter Kim in 1974, daughter-in-law Carolyn in 1987, granddaughter-in-law Melissa in 1995, and great-grandsons JB and Colin in 1997 and 2000. He's been able to see his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren grow up and move into the next phases of their lives, plus the numerous graduations, weddings, and family celebrations of the Harrington and Kurz families. Every event has been a new high in Art's life, and his consistent presence is a gesture of love and honor to all of us who have had the blessed fortune to have him at our sides. Life for Art has always been more than just a career and family. He's cared for and served many others in the various communities in which he's lived. As a Freemason, as a president of the volunteer fire department, as a junior achievement leader, a Boy Scout troop leader, a Lutheran church elder, as a Meals on Wheels volunteer, and most often as a Shriner and member of the Legion of Honor. Just a few years ago, Art reached the pinnacle of Masonry, earning the Scottish Rite's 33rd degree. This honor is one most Masons never dream of receiving. It's given to those who have demonstrated consistent dedication and service to the tenets of Masonry. But it's no surprise that Art Kurz would attain such heights. Over the years, Art has built a life centered on dedicated work, service to his fellow man, his family, and of course, love. That quality of life is measured not in time, but in time spent. As Art often says, I do what I have to do. I'm glad I can do what I do. On March 11th, Art, you will celebrate 95 glorious years in this world. We, your family, and your friends, and your community are blessed for having had you in our lives. For those years, and for what you have done for each of us, we say happy birthday, and thank you for everything.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.